Ian Castleberry, how are you, friend?
I'm doing great. How are you, Pat?
Woo, I'm good. Man, just heard that Happy Hill commercial. Happy Hill, of course, sponsoring this baseball feature. And, man, just a bummer, buddy. But, man, 37 years. I think it's time for them to relax a little bit.
I heard what you were saying about how they hadn't had a vacation or a proper vacation in about 20 years. Yeah, I'd say they're overdue. Certainly I'm grateful to them for sponsoring this segment. I've kind of been on the outside looking in with Happy Hill, mostly because I'm not always on that side of town, but I'm glad I finally got to eat there before they decided to close down.
Man, well, I'm going to get out there.
Not like I didn't have any chances. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well, you East Siders, it's just tough to get over here to the West Side. I can understand that.
That's right.
Hey, by the way, reports say that reps for players and owners met on Thursday as Major League Baseball's lockout continues. All right, any progress made during that session, Ian?
Yeah, unfortunately, this isn't something to get really excited about. Owners and players union reps did meet. I don't know if it was the top leadership of each side. This is the first time they've met since the lockout, since December 2nd. But most of the conversations involve, quote-unquote, non-core issues. So stuff like scheduling and special events, maybe a little more important, well, definitely more important, drug policies, domestic violence policies, how those sorts of things are handled, grievances against suspensions or rejections, that sort of thing. So none of the major issues that are dividing owners and players right now were discussed. They didn't talk about revenue sharing. They didn't talk about player service time and when the free agency clock would begin. They didn't talk about competitive balance or arbitration. They didn't talk about any rules changes like expanded playoffs. So this was just kind of, I don't know, maybe this was a holiday party or something like that. Owners and players say they are going to discuss these issues more fully after the new year. So baseball is taking it off, so I guess fans and observers can do so too.
Sure, why not? Hey, let's have a labor meeting over a couple of scotches. Okay, that sounds good. Man, maybe to get things done a little bit faster, for sure. Get them all liquored up. All right, Ian Castleberry, so here we go. I'm not sure I saw this coming. The Mets named Buck Showalter manager over the weekend. He's a veteran, but he's not managed since 2018. But at the same time, he's managed the Yankees. He's managed the Orioles. Why Buck Showalter? I'll ask you that first.
Well, the primary reason is Steve Cohen, the Mets owner, he doesn't want to build. I mean, he spent some money this offseason getting guys like Max Scherzer and Starling Marte. He wants to win now. And the Mets have done the first-time manager thing, the guy with no managerial experience before. They just fired one in Luis Rojas. They had Mickey Callaway before that. Terry Collins had managerial experience, but then it was Jerry Manuel, Willie Randolph. So Buck Showalter is the best available. If you want an experienced guy who knows how to win, who is a proven commodity, I mean, he's done it all. He's managed 4 teams previously, the Yankees, the Diamondbacks, the Rangers, the Orioles. And in some of those cases, he had front office input as well. So he knows how to build a team, but he also knows how to win. It is kind of funny. One of the asterisks or footnotes on Buck Showalter's career is that the Yankees and the Diamondbacks both won the World Series the year after they fired Buck Showalter. But, I mean, I think Showalter does have to get some credit for putting those teams in that position. So Steve Cohen wants to win now. Buck Showalter, probably the best available manager. And it does seem like a little bit of a weird fit because Steve Cohen, the hedge fund guy, you figured he'd hire some guy he could boss around who was really into analytics and so forth. And Buck Showalter is analytically inclined. I think that the perception of him is that he's more of an old school manager, but he's worked with front offices. He's been a TV analyst for the past 4 seasons. He's very familiar with how things are going in baseball right now. And you know what? This is probably the most important thing. Buck Showalter can handle New York. He managed the Yankees. He worked under George Steinbrenner. He's not going to get overwhelmed by the media and the crush and the scrutiny that they get from the press corps or whatever embarrassing things Steve Cohen might tweet out that other managers might have a hard time dealing with.
Gotcha on that one. And all right, so Showalter's the man. Who was left out? Who were some of the top candidates that did not get the gig?
Well, the other finalists were guys that you would have expected Steve Cohen probably to hire guys who come from analytically inclined teams who have won. Matt Quattuaro, who's the Tampa Bay Rays bench coach, he's been up for quite a few openings in recent years. He was up for the job. Joe Espada, the Astros bench coach, who I'm really surprised, has not been given a managerial job by now. So those were the two finalists, which gives you an idea of what the Mets were looking for. But ultimately, it came down. They wanted somebody who had some experience. And Buck Showalter, even though, like you said, he hasn't managed since 2018, he's 65 years old. He's an outstanding manager, I think. I think this is a great hire for the Mets.
All right, there you have it. The Mets ready to go with Showalter. Spring training, we hope, gets underway in February. As Ian Castleberry joins the Wise Guys on the DC Creasman Jewelers Wise Lines, presented by Happy Hill Restaurant. Roland Hemond, I was sorry to hear this because I remember him very well back in the 80s and 90s, general manager for the White Sox and the Orioles. He passed away at the age of 92. And again, he'd spent the last 19 years with the Diamondbacks. I wasn't aware of that. They, by the way, announced his passing. But Ian, let's start with the impact he had for the O's and for the Sox.
Yeah, he was I've covered Dave Dombrowski a lot, as you guys know, when, he was general manager of the Detroit Tigers. And Dombrowski was mentored and learned how to be a general manager, essentially, learn the ropes of baseball, being in the front office from Roland Hemond. And I remember Dombrowski would bring him up pretty frequently. So I know how influential he was. He has roots all throughout baseball, Tony La Russa as well. 16 seasons being the general manager of the Chicago White Sox. I won a pennant there, 9 with the Baltimore Orioles, 3-time Major League Baseball Executive of the Year. But yeah, even beyond being a general manager, he helped create the Arizona Fall League, which is a key developmental league that plays after the regular baseball season is done. That's where teams send their top prospects to face the best competition. He also helped create the Professional Baseball Scouts Association, which is a really great thing for scouts. Scouts who needed some special support, whether it was financial or health related, guys who maybe had fallen on hard times. He created this foundation that could help them. And about 10 years ago, he received the Buck O'Neil Lifetime Achievement Award, which is given by the Hall of Fame to a person in baseball whose efforts, quote, enhanced baseball's positive impact on society. So Roland Hemond had a far bigger role in baseball than simply putting together rosters for the White Sox, Orioles, and for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, man. I read his story and was like, wow, didn't know that. Ooh, didn't know that. Just an impressive person who had a big, big reach beyond being a general manager. Ian Castleberry, first off, congratulations to your Lions. I mean, if the Saints, that I thought that might have been the biggest win of the season, but your people, what a win over Arizona. And I got to ask, because I tagged you and Blades on Facebook, and it was just like when they were up 16-0, I'm like, yeah, you boys okay? What were you feeling? Because honestly, I'm thinking, Arizona's going to come back and win this. What was your mindset at that time?
First of all, let me say, I almost didn't watch the game because I figured for sure this was going to be blowout city. the best team, one of the best teams in the NFL, facing the worst. I just thought this was going to be ugly. But yeah, when it got up to 17-0 or so, I was just like, it was like the gears were turning in my head and thinking, wow, they need 3 possessions just to tie the game. I don't think they're going to do it because the Lions defense is playing really well. They were giving Kyler Murray a really hard time. Charles Harris in particular, really doing a good job with the pass rush. But Dan Campbell, we're still not sure if he's a good coach, but yesterday he outcoached Cliff Kingsbury. They did a great job. And the Lions, they were shorthanded. This was like watching a preseason game. There were guys taking the field in Lions uniforms I'd never even heard of. They were missing their starting tight end, 2 starting offensive linemen, one of their starting defensive linemen, DeAndre Swift, their starting running back, Tracy Walker, they're all pro safety, backup running backs, backup tight ends. And Arizona just looked like they thought they would just show up and win that game. And this was the cliche. This was any given Sunday, or you got to take every team seriously. Arizona clearly wasn't ready to play that game, and the Lions really just punched them in the mouth. If you want to use like a Dan Campbell type thing. But this team is, I know it's only their second win of the season, but it's a shocking one. And I think it really does show promise for Dan Campbell as a coach. He does still have some problems strategically, maybe, but those guys play hard for him. Even guys who, just came off the practice squad, maybe weren't even in football as of last week, but they play hard and they respond to Dan Campbell, and they beat the crap out of the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, anybody who thinks they might be a Super Bowl team, they are not. A Super Bowl team does not lose that game.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I was just real impressed. Every time you figured Arizona would make a comeback, the Lions responded. That was fun to watch. I was watching that on the NFL Red Zone because I've given up watching the Panthers. It's just too painful. I keep waiting for Freddie to come out of the shed and start hacking Panthers players. It's a horror movie. But nonetheless, Ian Castleberry with the Wise Guys on the D.C. Creasman Jewelers Wise Line, and of course presented by Happy Hill Restaurant. Go ahead, Ian.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of Lions fans are mad about this because they may have cost themselves the number 1 overall draft pick. Screw that. You got to win some games, too. You got to establish a winning culture. You have to learn how to win games. I mean, you can't just sit there and tank. And maybe they did cost themselves number 1, but they still will probably have the number 2, number 3 pick in the draft, and they'll be able to get Aiden Hutchinson or a Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon, somebody like that, somebody who's going to make an impact. I mean, you want those players, they're out there playing hard. You got to learn how to win. The Lions are showing they're doing that.
Indeed they are, man. Hey, don't take it, man. Show what you got coming in for next year. And there's not a whole lot of difference between Hutchinson and Thibodeau, if indeed it comes to that. They're both beasts for sure. Ian, before we let you go, you saw the new Spider-Man movie. You know I'm kind of a closet Marvel geek. I'm curious. I'm a little nervous at the theaters right now, but what did you make of it? How did you like it?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous at the theaters too, but I tried to go to an early showing.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this was the best of the 3 Marvel Spider-Man movies. I know there have been other Spider-Man movies before that. There are some details I do not want to give away because there are some major surprises that happen in this movie.
Ooh.
But in terms of the stakes of the characters, the Tom Holland version of Spider-Man that we've seen for 2 previous films, I mean, this is really culmination of everything coming together with what they've been building with the first 2 Spider-Man movies and bringing back, this is in the trailer, so this isn't a spoiler, that they've brought in villains from other previous movies and kind of, making Spider-Man face a bigger threat than he ever has before. But I mean, it's emotional, it's funny, and it's 2.5 hours long, but it just whizzes by. I mean, it was really fun. And probably, I know there have been some other Marvel movies this year, like Shang-Chi and the Eternals. This one was easily the best of them, probably the best Marvel movie since Avengers Endgame.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Is this Tom Holland's last movie as Spider-Man?
I believe Sony and Marvel said they have signed him to more movies, so I think they're looking at another 3 maybe with Tom Holland. And again, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but I think that the way No Way Home ends sets that up quite well.
Okay.
I mean, it could be, you could say, well, all right, yeah, that could be it for Tom Holland Spider-Man, but also I think they set up the next step for his character as well.
Wow, excellent. Ian, thanks for not giving away the spoilers. Cannot wait to see it. Appreciate you, friend. Have a great rest of the year. And can't wait to catch up with you Monday, January 3rd. We'll hopefully have more progress on Major League Baseball's lockout.
Yeah, hopefully they'll have begun talking by then. But yeah, thank you, Pat. Thank you for a fun year, and enjoy your holidays.
I will, buddy, and I appreciate you so much, Ian. Be well, friend.
Okay, take care.
You got it. That's one of the best right there. Ian Castleberry, thecomeback.com, awfulannouncing.com, and great to have him on the radio with the Wise Guys.